right now, there's always a big talk on freedom.
Yeah.
You know, if you go to America, it's like, I want to be free. And even here in Hong Kong, there's a big focus on freedom.
Yeah.
I want to get a visa so I can go wherever I want. And then you go, oh, but my passport this, but my passport that. You know, every single bank talks about financial freedom. The ability to go and buy whatever you want. To have the credit card that you want so you can spend wherever you are and buy anything. You know, we want individual freedoms. To do what you want, where you want, and when you want it. You know, we desire freedom of speech. And these are things that, you know, for some of us, we've grown into. You know, if you stayed in Hong Kong, you pretty much have a bank account, you're set up, you can pretty much, if you have the money, go everywhere you want. You have the right, you know, stuff. But for some people, that's not what we have. You know, freedom is still something that many people lack in their life.
Right.
A lot of people think the Philippines is this magical place where you can, you know, everything's cheap, or Thailand, everything's cheap. But in the Philippines, it's a rigid social structure. If you mess up socially, you're ostracized.
What?
You can't mess up with family. If you mess up, you don't have a place to belong.
Wow.
You know, we see countries with regimes, dictatorships, censorships, where the freedom of speech and freedom of religion is a joke. And it's not taken seriously. Where even freedom of speech, you go to America, it's like the land of the free. But let's be honest, you can't post anything you want, else you'll get backlash. We boast about financial freedom, and yet, when you buy something, you're actually enslaved to it.
True. Right.
If you buy a car, now you're hooked to the car.
True.
If that car can't leave Hong Kong, you're stuck in Hong Kong.
Right.
You buy property, you're stuck here. Because your property is here. You can't move that property. And, you know, there's no World Bank. So whatever bank or money you have, it's stuck there. So in reality, this concept of freedom, where do we find it? You know, not all freedom is made equal.
Yeah.
You can be given financial freedom, but spend irresponsibly.
Right.
You can have the freedom of speech, but abuse it.
Right.
And God does not want to limit freedoms. And a lot of people think the Bible is a restriction of your freedoms.
Right.
Oh, there's so many rules. I'm not supposed to do this. I'm not supposed to do this. How am I really free?
Right.
God's not here to restrict you. God's just trying to protect everybody else's freedom.
Right.
If you go and kill someone, you take someone's freedom away. Literally speaking.
Yeah.
And so that is what the Bible is about. The title of my lesson today is Freed for a Fee.
Come on.
And point number one, freedom is not what you know, but what you show. 1 Corinthians 8, verse 1 to 3. Now about food sacrificed to idols. We know that we all possess knowledge. But knowledge puffs up, while love builds up. Those who think they know something do not yet know as they ought to know. But whoever loves God is known by God. You know, Paul is addressing to the Corinthian church that has been very, very problematic. The Corinthian church at this point was like, oh, I know so much. Look at me. I'm so smart. But Paul's like, I don't care about how much you know. I care about how much you love.
Come on.
It says, knowledge puffs up. And I attached the Greek word, and I'm probably going to butcher it. But knowledge puffs up means knowledge makes you arrogant. Knowledge makes you prideful.
Yeah.
But it says love builds up. It edifies, it helps, it encourages.
Yeah.
Let's go.
And I have a little demonstration. I have a little plastic bag here.
Okay. Wow. What is this?
So you go, knowledge puffs up, right? So, you know, empty bag. You go, oh yeah, I studied at HKU. Oh, I have a 6-figure income. I have this degree. Sorry, waste of plastic. But that's what it does.
Yeah.
Knowledge, oh, I know this, I know this, I know this. That's what's happened to your relationships.
Come on.
You boast, I know so much. this is what you should do. This is what you should do. And that contrasts with love. You know, it's not about, because nowadays people boast about that. People boast about the degrees you have. Oh, I have 4 master's degrees. You know, oh, I have this, I have this. But it's not about the knowledge. It's about the love. And I'm very grateful that the Hong Kong church is growing. Not perhaps numerically now, but I'm very grateful for the people who are now coming out of college, graduating and building their lives. You know, I've been speaking to Denzel, Alfred, Melissa. They recently just got jobs. I'm like, hey, how much are you paid? And all these different things. You know, and that's what we're about. You know, it's not just about, okay, teaching them the Bible. Okay, that is amazing.
Come on.
But we also want to see them progress through life with the right scriptures.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's encouraging getting a new house, helping them. You know, now they have a job. Great, now let's help you get a proper budget. You know, let's actually help you build a proper life. That is what Christianity is about. You know, using the Bible the right way. You know, today people boast of degrees. People boast of awards. You know, I hear Denzel winning these speaking competitions, all these things. And yet sometimes he comes up to me and he's like, hey, can you help me with my public speaking? I'm like, I haven't won any awards. This guy's won many awards and he's still asking me. You know, many people, and for some of us in the church for the longest time, we can boast about ministry experience. Oh, I've been to church the longest. Oh, I've done this. I've read all the Bible. So you should listen to me. You know, of everyone here, Candice and Jess have been in the Hong Kong church the longest. They know Hong Kong the most. And I'm very grateful, you know. Lan, Abhishek, Sarah, Nixon, they have jobs after they graduated. Not like me. They have more ministry experience than myself. You know, Nixon, Sarah, and Jackie, they're married. And I'm single in the eyes of God. Clarifying that. And yet, all of these high talented people come to me and ask for, I'm very grateful they come and ask me for advice. And I know nothing in comparison to these incredible giants of the faith. You know, we can boast of emotional experience. Oh, I have high IQ. I have high EQ. I disciple most of the people here. Listen to me. And yet that's not what the church is about. We're not here as a social club trying to boast of, I'm better than you. But maybe that's not what you say out loud, but perhaps that's what you think in here. Deep down inside is like, yeah, mentor, leader, friend. Yeah, I know you're saying these things, but I know better. Do you think that in your position that you are higher than other people, no matter where you are? You know, with the things that you boast about, you should be helping the most. If you do boast about these things. And that's what people do. People today, look at my CV. Look how good it is. Look how my job. But they don't want to help other people get a CV. They don't want to help people get jobs. Ask someone else. And that's what we need to do. We have the greatest we have the greatest skills, and we want to give it to other people because we can. You know, I don't care about how much you know. Show me in your love and your actions. The greatest acts and the greatest influence in the church will always be about how willing you are to serve, not how much you know. And the greatest influence you will ever have is defined by the top 5 people you feel most loved by. Because someone can come in, they're a stranger, and give you input, and you won't listen. But the 5 people you know the best, the 5 people you feel loved most, these are the people that you will listen to when they give you advice. So who are these people? Are they your teachers? Are they your colleagues? Are they your disciples? Are they your mentors? Or is it God?
Come on.
You know, if the brothers tell me, oh, bro, you know, your outfit, it doesn't fit you. Oh, it's too green, it's too red, it's too this, it's too that. I'm not listening to you, I'm sorry. Maybe I will to a certain extent.
Amen.
But then if Emma goes, oh, what are you wearing? You're not wearing that. She's a professional model, so of course I'll listen. But I feel most loved by her. And I know her motive is out of kindness. So I will listen to that. And that is how we lead. It's not about how much you know, but it's how much you love. And I'm very grateful that my mentor, my friend Joe, he has lived that way. You know, of all the people, I feel greatly loved by him. Because, you know, when I was in Sydney, you know, he would go and have these elaborate things with one of his friends. You know, on Thursday night, we would have risk nights. I think we should start doing that again. We would have these risk nights with all his friends. Pepsi Max 3 liters, Lord of the Rings little pieces, a massive desk of Lord of the Rings map, and then just random little units that he painted by himself. And it's just the boys just playing. And then when I went there in October the first time, and I was like, yo, I'm about to win against this great Joe Willis. I'm beating him in Risk. And I did beat him. And then when I arrived in January and I left around April or May to come back to Hong Kong. And we played again. I was like, hey Joe, you know, I remember winning that one time, but now it's really hard. Like, well, what's your secret? He's like, do you think I allowed you to win that time? And he said, what would I gain from me winning the first time you played with me? Nothing. What would I have gained if you won that first time? You liking Risk and being my friend. I was like, that is why. Or I don't know, maybe I'm just that good. I don't know. That's what he said, right? But you know, but he makes these very, very elaborate ways to love people. He plans these great retreats for all of us. You know, he challenges me, he listens to me. And I'm very grateful that he believed in me. Because I was this random Filipino guy in Hong Kong trying to do the ministry. And he's like, who's this guy? I want to give him a shot. You know, enough to put enough care for him to actually be in my life and go, hey, there's a sister that might like you. Hey, go after it. And then October, the last week before I left to come back to Hong Kong, he goes, hey, that sister, you guys go on a date and go to a cafe in front of everybody. In front of the whole I was like, whoa, wait, is that loud or something like that? But he takes enough care to think about these things.
Wow, come on.
And so naturally, when he puts this much effort into my life, I'm like, this guy wants the best of my life. Of course I want to do what he asked. Of course I want to help out. So in the same way, who do you feel most loved by?
Come on.
You know, if you feel most loved by your mentors, you will listen.
True.
But the biggest question is, do you feel most loved by God? And if so, are you willing to do anything he asks?
Come on.
You know, the next passage, 1 Corinthians 8, verse 4 to 6. So then about eating food sacrificed to idols. We know that an idol is nothing at all in the world, and that there is no God but one. For even if there are so-called gods, whether in heaven or on earth, as indeed there are many gods and many lords, yet for us there is but one God, the Father, from whom all things came and from whom we live. And there is but one Lord, Jesus Christ, through whom all things came and through whom we live. You know, here Paul was just trying to say, hey, there is objective truth. Paul claims that, hey, if there is a God, then these idols don't make sense. And you need to know that these truths exist. You know, and now in the world, there's this sense that absolute truth cannot exist. What you think is truth. What you feel is truth. What you think may not be what I think, but we're both right. But Paul was like, no. Let's get things straight. And I really love this book. Even if you have someone that doesn't believe in God, and you ask them, hey, does absolute truth exist? And they go, no. Well, you saying no to that means you do believe it. The fact that you said no means that is an absolute truth in it of itself. It's like saying, is this statement a lie? If you say yes, then it is a lie and it's false. I know, it's very paradoxical. Ask me for anything in music. But if we are to go deeper, if we are to look at evidences about God, scientific evidence, then if that's the case, God exists, then those that believe that God doesn't exist are wrong. Both truths cannot make sense of each other. It's like me saying I'm a boy and a girl. That makes no sense. Because it's either or. Biologically. Okay, biologically. Anyways. And so, if God exists, then okay, now is it the biblical God or something else? Then if it's the biblical God, then only one God exists, not many gods. And if this biblical exists, then heaven and hell exists. And so these objective realities come out of that. 1 Corinthians 8, 7-13. But not everyone possesses this knowledge. Some people are still so accustomed to idols that when they eat sacrificial food, they think of it as having been sacrificed to a god. And since their conscience is weak, it is defiled. But food does not bring us near to God. We are no worse if we do not eat, and no better if we do. Be careful, however, that the exercise of your rights does not become a stumbling block to the weak. For if someone with a weak conscience sees you, with all your knowledge, eating in an idol's temple, won't that person be emboldened to eat what is sacrificed to idols? So this weak brother or sister from whom Christ died is destroyed by your knowledge, when your sin against them is in this way, and wound their weak conscience your sin against Christ. Therefore, if what I eat causes my brother or sister to fall into sin, I will never eat meat again, so that I will not cause them to fall. And the brothers go, no meat, what? Never mind. But love knows the truth. Hate shoves the truth. For you to make the, we understand that God exists. But it is not right for us to go, you non-Christian, hey, you're wrong. That's not what love is about. For the longest time, the Bible, the Torah, the Old Testament was like, hey, you cannot eat these certain foods. And in the New Testament, they have this ongoing thing of not being able to eat food that is sacrificed to idols. And we now know that through Jesus goes, hey, it's not about the food that you eat. It's about what comes from the heart. And I attach a scripture to show that. So we can eat whatever we want. Yay, Chinese people. But the thing with the New Testament, or at least what was going on at this time, as they were going on and converting Greeks, they were not eating anything. And they were even eating food for sacrifice and idols. And for Paul, it was like, bro, food is food. Whatever you eat does not make you close to God or far from God. Food is food. It's not about what you eat, but it's about what you do. But for many weaker Christians, they go, but it is about the food. And so Paul is like, if this is what you know, amen. But you need to bear with the weaker Christians. If that is what they think, hey, be like that. If your sister has a hard time seeing other people eat meat, if there's a vegan sister that does not like other people eating meat, then you be vegan for them. Maybe just for that moment.
Yes. Let's go. Not today.
But there are these small little personal convictions. There's these personal convictions of jaywalking. I'm not allowed to jaywalk. Like for me, I do not like to jaywalk. So if you're walking with me, do not jaywalk.
Come on.
Because that makes me struggle a little bit. So it's to help other people. You knowing the truth and making other people struggle does not help anybody. Does your freedom cause other people to struggle? You can do whatever you want. And that's the beauty of Christianity. Everything is permissible at the right time. But are you sensitive? You can banter, you can joke, but is it helpful? You can tell the truth, but will it do more harm than good? Your freedom can either cause someone to be won over or completely shunned. In the Sydney church, there was a big tradition of us after church to go to I forgot the place. A little computer shop to go play League of Legends. And for some people, I play support. And some people don't like that. But for me, I'm like, oh yeah, I don't like League of Legends. I'm sorry for some people. At that time, I was very selfish. I was like, oh, childish people. These grown 20-year-old men after church playing video games, wasting their money on a single piece of computer. I could be eating with that money.
Okay.
That's what I thought.
Okay.
But then my friend's like, bro, if you're here to win them over, you go play with them. You will learn the rules. You gank. You know how to play, all these different, supports and different units. And I was like, oh, okay, amen. And I went with them, and guys can be very competitive.
Yeah.
And sometimes it could go a little bit sinful to the point that they're shouting. But me not knowing how to play League and shouting them, rebuking them, would not win anyone over. Me learning it, playing with them, and being with the boys, and helping them see the truth will win them over. And for some of us, we refuse to learn a new hobby. We refuse to learn a new language. We refuse to learn a new sport. We refuse to learn about a new TV show. Because we don't want to learn about other people. We just want to tell people the truth. And that hurts them. And that hurts God. I remember before, when Jess was still vegan or vegetarian. For me, it was a big challenge for me because a Kingdom Day is when we go out and encourage our brothers and sisters. And so I was challenged, me, this meat eater, this 19-year-old meat eater that does not know how to cook. I'm like, how do I cook a vegan meal? Wow, very hard. It's how do I make vegetables good? That's really hard. And I'm very grateful for the people. They're like, hey, do this recipe. I think it was like a coconut pudding in a rice cooker that I did. And not only encouraged, maybe she forgot or something like that, but that encouraged me because I was like, I'm able to cook and I get to win someone over. If I showed up and I go, oh, here's your meat, here's my meat plate and here's your vegan, plop. That's not helpful. That's not encouraging. We keep going. 1 Corinthians 9, verse 3 to 12. This is my defense to those who sit in judgment of me. Don't we have the right to food and drink? Don't we have the right to take a believing wife along with us? As do the other apostles and the Lord's brothers in Cephas. Or is it only I and Barnabas, who lack the right to not work for a living? Who serves as a soldier at his own expense? Who plants a vineyard and does not eat its grapes? Who tends a flock and does not drink the milk? Do I say this merely on human authority? Doesn't the law say the same thing? For it is written in the law of Moses, do not muzzle an ox while it is treading out the grain. Is it about oxen that God is concerned? Surely he says this for us, doesn't he? Yes, this was written for us, because whoever plows and threshes should be able to do so in the hope of sharing in the harvest. If you have sown spiritual seed among you, is it too much if we reap a material harvest from you? If others have this right of support from you, shouldn't we have it all the more? But we did not use this right. On the contrary, we put up with anything rather than hinder the gospel of Christ. And so everybody was like, hey, Paul, why are you asking for donations? You should be doing this for free. And yet he talks about these different analogies. Hey, a soldier gets his pay. Even a cow can eat from the harvest he helped in. Yeah. So why can't the soldier of God also gain from the church? Yeah. And so I'm very grateful for her contribution because you're paying me to go out and preach the word. And this contribution will go out and prove and help so many. So I'm very grateful for that. But moving on, point number 2, free to free others. 1 Corinthians 9, verse 15 to 18. But I have not used any of these rights. And I'm not writing this in the hope that you will do such things for me. For I would rather die than allow anyone to deprive me of this boast. For when I preach the gospel, I cannot boast, since I am compelled to preach. Woe to me if I do not preach the gospel. If I preach voluntarily, I have a reward. If not voluntarily, I'm simply discharging the trust committed to me. What then is my reward? Just this, that in preaching the gospel, I may offer it free of charge. And so do not make use of my rights as a preacher of the gospel. And Paul was trying to say, this is my job. Even if I don't get paid, I will still preach the word. If I get paid, great, but I will still preach the word. And that is who we are to be disciples. You're not paid to be Christians. We are paid by God, by Jesus Christ's blood already.
Come on.
That is our pay. And we must do what Christ asked us. And this is what Paul was like. He goes, hey, I've used my own personal freedom to go out for God. You know, when he became, an apostle, and when he went out to do these missionary journeys, he gave up the freedom to go wherever he wanted. He for sure did not have any money with him. He for sure gave up his actual freedom to be in prison. That is what he gained. I'm very grateful for missionaries, who go out and preach the word in places that nobody would ever think of going. If you guys don't know, our great brother and sister, Alistair and Steph. Alistair is a Filipino. Like I am Filipino. But he's born and raised in Sydney, rather in Australia. And then he moved over to Samoa. And if you guys don't know Samoa, that's the point. It's a little island in the middle of the Pacific, where for bathing water, they have to put a basin out of the house to collect rainwater and bathe. Wow. That you have to walk a distance just to take a bath. For them, if you guys were there yesterday in Abhishek and Lan, there was a big beach of dogs, like 10 dogs on the beach. For Hong Kong people, they're nice, they're friendly. If you're in Samoa, they'll be chasing after you. You didn't even see them. They would be chasing after you. They would need to have that Mercy van just to get to church safely. Because they don't have MTR, they don't have bus. They had to walk to church an hour, 2 hours. And they were like, if this is my call for God, I will do it. They had to sacrifice meals to make ends meet. Their dates end at 9 because they still have to walk back home. And they were like, this is what I have to do. I still need to go after it. Paul's self-denial is even more powerful. Because he goes, hey, if I'm going to sit here in this prison, if I'm charged by God, let my time in prison still be fruitful. And his time in prison wrote the epistles you guys are reading. What have you given up for the sake of other people? What have you given up for the sake of Christ? Because in truth, life is not about what you can gain. Because for a long time, that's what us Chinese people can get. What can I get from this relationship? What can I get from this job? What can I get from this house? What can I get from this contract? But for Christians, for most of life, it's about what you can give. Yes. Imagine on your tombstone, I solicited $1 million from other people. I owned 3 houses. Wow. If you ask your parents, what is the one moment that has redefined your whole life? It's having you.
True, 100%.
They go, I risked my freedom of going out wherever and whenever I want to go and travel, to stay here and take care of a whiny baby like you. Yeah. When you were a kid, or maybe now, I don't know.
Come on.
I risked all my savings for your education. All my savings for your university, and you're not studying. I risked all of this for you, and that was worth it.
Yes.
Life is about giving things up.
Come on.
Giving things up for the right things. We understand that about our lives. We understand about giving things up for people that we love. And yet, why all of a sudden is Christianity too difficult? That Christianity is about, just come to church.
Right, come on.
Just leave it. Give up the least you can have and be Christian, and you're good to go. If there's a great brother that we have named Charles Vo, and he did communion in the Washington D.C. church. I do encourage you guys to listen to it. It's 13 minutes long, and I almost cried. I was on my way from Saigon to listen to it. But this guy is a Vietnamese local, a national. And then for the rest of his life, he grew up in Vietnam and then moved over to the U.S. So he grew up in the U.S. And then did his studies in California and then, went off. And he's roughly 22. But the reason why him and his family left Vietnam was because during the Vietnam War, his family was actually on the south. So they were part of the south. So if you guys don't know Vietnamese history, the North communists came down to the south and basically persecuted everybody. The North tortured his family, his dad especially, physically and mentally as well, as they got captured. And then with the chance, they were then all freed to then go to America. And so his entire family then lived and enjoyed the freedoms of the US. And for him to stand up and go, I am going back. I will go back to Vietnam.
Oh, wow.
I will go back and save these people.
Wow.
It takes a different step.
Yeah.
And he's 23.
Wow.
But he was like, if God did so much for me, then this is the least I could do.
Come on.
Wow. Come on.
It's not about my family giving all these stuff. It's not about my family enduring this. It's what Christ endured for me.
Yeah.
That is what matters.
Wow. Come on.
1 Corinthians 9, verse 19-23. Just to wrap things up. It reads, though I am free and belong to no one, I have made myself a slave to everyone, to win as many as possible. To the Jews, I became like a Jew to win the Jews. To those under the law, I became like one under the law, though I myself am not under the law, so as to win those under the law. To those not having the law, I became like one not having the law, though I'm not free from God's law, but I'm under Christ's law, so as to win those not having the law. To the weak, I became the weak to win the weak. I become all things to all people, so that by all possible means I might save some. I do all of this for the sake of the gospel, that I may share in its blessings.
Come on.
You know, are you using your freedom to win as many people as possible?
Come on.
Even to exhaustion. You know, are you a one-trick pony? What does that mean? Are you here just to win Chinese people? Can you have a good conversation just with Chinese people? Can you do Bible studies with just Chinese people? Either you're very introverted or you're racist. So I don't know. You know, are you just good with talking to Filipinos? Are you just good with talking to guys? Or are you just good with talking to girls? And I'm very encouraged. You know, if you guys don't know, I grew up in a middle school that's all boys. I grew up my entire education all boys school.
Wow. Crazy.
Yeah, for some people, yeah. And so my greatest struggle in the past when I became that was talking to girls. I was like, oh, they're different species. Oh my gosh. Oh, I don't know how to talk to them. It's weird. Like, the only interaction I had with a female was my mom and my sister. So like, I don't understand. And for some of us in the church, you know, of course the sisters get on with the sisters, they talk to the girls. But for us, it's like, guys, we're all people.
Yeah.
We need to go and have normal interactions with everybody anyways.
Yes, talk to me.
Come on, let's go.
But you know, is that the same attitude you have?
Yeah.
Do you want to win everybody? Can you talk to everybody? Can you have a good conversation with everybody? I challenge those who are here in Hong Kong and who've been here the longest. Have you picked up Cantonese?
No.
Will you pick it up? Because we're the Hong Kong church. As much as learning Mandarin is great, but learning Mandarin, you can then put, oh, it's good for my future. It's good for my business. If you want to learn Mandarin, then why did God send you to CT2? Why are you here? God has called you to learn Cantonese. And I can say that because I can speak Cantonese. But that ends my sermon. In time. The title of my lesson today, Freed for a Fee. And point number one, freedom is not what you know, but what you show. You can say you're free, you can say you have privileges, you can say you're gifted, but unless you're helping other people, it means nothing to God. It means nothing. And point number two, free to free others. If you really say that you're freed by Christ, show it. Love others equally, learn languages, and love everybody. And to God be glory. Amen.